in my opinion, is the most wasted time in all of sports. If you don't believe me, as I didn't believe when I heard this, I was like, oh, I'm a great leader, I'm a floor general, I do all sorts of things in dead ball time. If you don't believe me, go home and watch yourself on one game film. Just watch what you do, right? Maybe you talk as you sub in and out and you say who you're guarding, but oh my gosh, is this the most wasted time in sports? When the ball goes out of bounds, at the free throw, at any substitutions, all that stuff, that's dead ball time, okay? Timeouts, what do you do? So most players do absolutely nothing. They just look around or they think, or they, very few players actually maximize this golden opportunity. First thing, I think you should rethink 4 things: time, score, fouls, and I'd add to that list timeouts. So every dead ball goes out of bounds, there's a foul, anything like that, right? Free throw, I'm looking up at the scoreboard, I'm rethinking what's the time, what's the score, what's our foul situations, and always also checking how many timeouts do we have. You never want to be caught in a situation where you get a technical for your team. If you look and you assess time and score, you see, hey, have we been on a run? Have they been on a run? Fouls, I love getting the other team into the bonus. So I could go to the free throw line and shoot 2 free throws, which I considered a layup, right? So I was always reconsidering those 4 things. Another thing you want to do is give reminders, give encouragement, right? Maybe you got a player miss the last couple shots. Give him or her some encouragement. Give reminders before they're needed, right? Maybe you've noticed that they're trapping on the ball screen. So on the next possession, you tell your teammate, hey, slip the screen, they're trapping, so be ready for it. Give your players a reminder before it's necessary. This next one is something that I remember watching Michael Jordan do all the time at a free throw when he wasn't in the lane, right? So when his team was shooting generally and he was out the top of the key, he would always go up to another player, right? And there's so many iconic pictures of him hanging on his shorts, standing shoulder to shoulder, and he would have a one-on-one conversation with a teammate. What do you think MJ was doing in that one-on-one conversation with a teammate? Yeah, I bet he was giving reminders, giving encouragement, right? Maybe Kerr missed a couple shots. He's giving him an encouragement. Hey, you got the next one. Let's go. Get this next one, right? Maybe he's giving reminders. Hey, Pippen, watch them slipping on that screen, all right? Let's stay home. He was always having one-on-one conversations with his teammates. He was so competitive. He wanted to win so badly that he was always putting his teammates in the best spots to succeed. 4th thing I think you can do during dead ball time is treat subs like honored guests. How many of you have a teammate who thinks they should be starting? Oh yeah, we've all had that teammate, right? And so coach puts up the starting lineup on the whiteboard in the locker room, right? And they're just flabbergasted, right? They're just, right? Like you can already see it in their mind. They can't believe that they're not starting. They think they should be starting, right? Maybe they were starting, or maybe they had a good week in practice, so they think they all of a sudden should be starting, right? And they just can't believe it. In warmups, they're still shook, right? They can't believe they're not starting. Game starts, right? They're sitting on the bench. Play happens. They're not engaged in the game. They're just sitting on the bench like, man, coach is so stupid. What does coach think? He's such an idiot. I should be starting. I'm better than 2 of them. I should be a starter. I'm one of the better shooters on the team, right? And they're sitting there. Their mom's in the stands like, why aren't you starting? Right? And they're like, I know, he's an idiot. He's so stupid. Right. Now, when coach finally puts them in the game, do they have any idea of the time, the score, the momentum, the foul situation? No, right? And I know that feeling. You just want to kick them in the spleen because they're an awful teammate. But that's your chance to be a special leader and rise above. And what I like to tell athletes is acclimate them to the environment, right? So if you acclimate to the cold or the warm, you get used to it, acclimate them to the environment. And maybe say something to get their attention. Like they sub in like, glad he finally put you in. They'd be like, yeah, right? And then you tell them the valuable information like, hey, listen, they've scored 2 in a row. We need to get a good offensive possession. Or, hey, we're in, 3 on defense. Make sure you got that shooter on the left wing. Get them used to the environment. Get them prepared mentally for what they need to do. Treat them like an honored guest. If you had an honored guest come to your house, right, you'd treat them with respect. You'd make sure they know where everything is. You get them acclimated to the environment. So do the same thing for your teammates. Last but not least is focus your team forward, right? So often I'll see, especially high school players who think they're leaders just by yelling and telling and screaming at their teammates. A teammate makes a mistake and then they, get in a huddle and they yell at them for it. And here's the thing, they know they made the mistake, right? All you're doing is focusing them backwards, right? As a leader, if you can't think of one thing to say, one reminder to give about the next possession or one way to focus your team forward, I don't think you know a lot about basketball, and I would say you're a pretty terrible leader. So focus them forward. And I've had many athletes ask, well, coach, what about, I'm not the person focusing backward, but what if we get in a huddle, one of our teammates, does that to another teammate? I would nip that in the bud. I would say, hey, shut up, man. Or I would say, hey, chill. He knows that he did that, or she knows she did that, right? She knows she dribbled off her foot, or he knows he passed it out. We're good. Let's focus forward. So I would nip it in the bud, and I would get my team focused forward in that huddle. Now, I want to show a moment of dead ball time that very few commentators, coaches, and athletes talked about in the Cavs and Warriors finals. We all remember the infamous J.R. Smith rebound and dribbled out the timeout when they were tied. But what most people don't realize is the leadership opportunity and dead ball time opportunity missed right before that shot. So let me catch you up in case you missed that moment. The Cavs are down, and I know from a friend of a friend who was friends with one of the Cavs assistants, that the Cavs' goal was to go into Golden State, try to steal game one. All their best sets, all their kind of gimmicky stuff, they put into game one. They're like, hey, we are going to steal game one. If we don't get game two, that's fine. But we are going back to Cleveland 1-1. So they put all their energy and effort into it. And remember earlier in the week, we saw LeBron's response and one of his, poorer moments as a leader in his mistake response to JR when they went into the bench at, between the end of regulation and overtime. But what most people don't realize is the free throw before. So George Hill gets fouled, great free throw shooter. They're down one. He makes the first free throw to tie it up, right? Watch what happens.
Plenty of time with 4.7 remaining. Hill misses. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Throws it to Hill. Hill shot blocked. And we'll go to overtime. You get the feeling J.R. Smith thought they had the lead.
He didn't know the score.
I think exactly. That's a bad mistake by J.R. Smith.
And LeBron James was trying to get a timeout.
Watch James. Now wanted a timeout, but too late to get it. And 5 minutes go up on the clock. Overtime here in game one.
Watch if anyone talks to JR, any reminders, anything. Just go ahead and watch. So he ties the game, right? They give some dap. No one reminds JR that, hey, we're tied. No one gives really any reminders, right? LeBron says something there to Green, but there's no reminders. All right, they're matching up, right? So maybe okay, a little bit of reminders, but no one makes sure that JR and Thompson know time and score of, hey, you get offensive rebound, attack, right? You get offensive rebound, draw a foul. Those are all great reminders that could be given. So that's the special part of thinking the game. We want you to get to that deeper level of seeing beyond what the fans are going to see, what even average coaches or players are going to see, and be that special leader that gives reminders before they're needed. And dead ball time is one of the best times to do it because you're not physically doing anything. You're not physically responsible for anything. So your mind should be rolling. You should be maximizing that dead ball time.